In a quiet courtroom on a brisk morning, two little boys, twin brothers with soulful brown eyes, stepped forward in silence, their small hands tightly clasped. Their plea was simple yet heart-wrenching. "Can you be our new mommy?" Their words, filled with hope and vulnerability, broke through the hardened routine of the judge presiding over the case. Known for her unyielding resolve, Judge Alicia Thompson found herself at a crossroads, her guarded heart softening at the sight of these brave children who had suffered so much in a broken system. This is the true story of love, justice, and the relentless power of kindness, a story that has touched countless lives and reminds us why every act of compassion matters. Welcome to Acts of Kindness Stories, where every narrative not only inspires but also teaches us that even in the most challenging moments, a gentle heart can change everything. In the tense corridors of the courthouse that morning, the echoes of shuffling feet and murmured whispers faded into the background as Judge Alicia Thompson opened the file on the twin boys before her. The case was not just another routine custody hearing. It was an urgent plea from two fragile souls whose lives had been shattered by a system meant to protect them. Their file told a story of loss and neglect, multiple placements, a group home with a history of unaddressed complaints, and the persistent shadows of abuse. The evidence was as damning as it was heartbreaking. A trail of bruises on small arms, a file littered with social worker notes that spoke of hunger, inadequate care, and a neglect that was too common to ignore. Judge Thompson's normally steely gaze faltered for just a heartbeat as she absorbed the details. Her mind, trained to navigate the cold corridors of legal precedent and bureaucracy, could not help but recall memories of her own shattered past, a loss that had forced her to build walls around her heart. Yet, in that moment, she saw reflected in the terrified eyes of the twins not just evidence of systemic failure, but the raw, desperate yearning for safety and love. With each line she read, the judge felt an internal battle unfolding between her duty to uphold the law and her instinct to protect these vulnerable children at any cost. At the group home where the twins had been placed, the conditions were dismal. The building, with its peeling paint and water-stained ceilings, stood as a testament to neglect, a physical manifestation of a system overwhelmed by limited resources and chronic understaffing. In the cramped, dimly lit rooms, the boys' belongings were few, and the care they received was scant. A nurse's quick explanation of limited funding and not enough hands on deck did little to mask the grim reality. In those sparse corridors, each complaint that had been casually dismissed, each report of a child going without proper meals, had contributed to a tapestry of neglect that threatened to unravel the future of these two precious lives. During the hearing, Judge Thompson listened intently as Melissa Grant, the weary social worker, recounted the boys' tumultuous journey. 3 foster homes in less than a year, constant upheaval, and the stark evidence of neglect that no one wanted to confront. The testimony was delivered in a voice that carried both resignation and exhaustion, a tone that resonated with the frustration of an overburdened system. "We've tried our best with the resources we have," Melissa explained, her words trailing off as she glanced at the boys, whose eyes told a story far more eloquent than any report ever could. It was in that moment that the judge's resolve crystallized. These children deserved better than the cold indifference of a broken system. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was charged with a palpable mix of hope and despair. As the twins took their place at the defendant's table, their small bodies seemed to shrink beneath the weight of their experiences, yet their eyes remained steadfastly locked on Judge Thompson, a silent plea for someone to understand, to care, and to act. The judge's internal monologue was a tumult of emotions. She recalled the memory of a loss that had defined her life, a memory that was both tender and agonizing. In the quiet recesses of her mind, the image of her own child, whose absence had carved a permanent void, stirred emotions she had long since buried beneath years of rigorous professionalism. That memory gave the twins' plight an added urgency. She saw in them not only the scars of neglect but also a chance to mend a broken system, one small case at a time. When the boys timidly repeated their plea, "Can you be our new mommy?" the courtroom fell into a heavy silence. Their innocent words pierced the veil of legal formalities and reached deep into Judge Thompson's guarded heart. She knew that the decision before her was not merely about custody. It was about restoring hope to children who had been failed by every safety net in place. The judge's mind raced through every legal precedent, every protocol she had adhered to over her lengthy career, yet none of those cold statutes could extinguish the fierce, protective fire that had been reignited within her. The narrative took a dramatic turn as new evidence emerged that threatened to upend the fragile equilibrium of the case. A distant relative, Vanessa Carter, had stepped forward claiming custody of the twins. Her background, however, was far from pristine. A string of minor offenses, combined with unsettling reports of financial instability and a disturbing history of neglect, cast a long shadow over her claim. The evidence was meticulous. A series of documents that detailed past arrests for fraud and connections to unsavory elements in the community, including multiple witness statements placing her at notorious locations known for drug-related activities. It was a stark reminder that blood ties alone were not a guarantee of safe, nurturing care. In a courtroom charged with tension, Vanessa Carter's claim ignited a fierce legal battle. Vanessa's attorney argued passionately for the sanctity of familial bonds, asserting that the twins deserved to remain with their only biological relative. But as the attorney spoke, Judge Thompson's thoughts drifted back to the file before her, a file that laid bare a systematic failure to safeguard the twins. The judge's heart pounded as she considered the weight of the evidence. The living room of the group home, the bleak corridors, and the anxious whispers of the social workers all converged into a single, undeniable truth. These children needed stability, security, and genuine love, elements that were conspicuously absent in Vanessa Carter's turbulent history. Amid the courtroom drama, Judge Thompson found solace in the small, determined faces of the boys. Their resilience was a silent defiance against the many times they had been discarded by a system that treated them as mere case numbers. The judge's voice, usually measured and detached, began to tremble with a controlled passion as she spoke. "These children have known too little kindness, too little consistency," she declared. Her words resonated in the silent space between legal arguments, serving as a reminder that the law was meant to be a shield for the innocent, not a tool to perpetuate indifference. The proceedings shifted as the focus moved to the heart of the matter, the welfare of the twins. Every statement, every piece of evidence, and every silent plea in their eyes culminated in a pivotal moment where the judge's internal battle reached its climax. It was a moment when the rigid protocols of legal procedure collided with the messy, often painful reality of human emotion. The courtroom transformed into a stage where justice was not an abstract concept but a living, breathing force, a force that demanded compassion over mere adherence to outdated rules. Outside the courthouse, Judge Thompson sought answers on the ground. Determined to verify the grim reports, she visited the group home where the twins had lived. The decrepit facility, with its cracked walls and broken fixtures, was a stark testament to neglect. As she walked through the dimly lit hallways, the judge's eyes met the silent testimony of a place that had failed its most vulnerable residents. In one cramped room, she found the twins' sparse belongings: a faded sweater, a small, well-worn book, and the unmistakable marks of a life fraught with hardship. Each piece of evidence was a call to action, a reminder that legal decisions carried consequences far beyond the courtroom walls. Returning to her chambers, the judge pored over the new reports with an unwavering focus. Every document, every witness statement, and every photograph of the boys' bruised arms reinforced her determination. She contacted old colleagues and experts in child welfare, gathering additional insights into the systemic failures that had led to this moment. The investigation was methodical yet driven by an emotional urgency that belied her years on the bench. This was not just a case. It was a battle against indifference, a fight to reclaim the rights and dignity of children who had been forgotten by society. In a series of intense phone calls and late-night meetings, Judge Thompson collaborated with investigators who shared her resolve. They uncovered a series of mishandled complaints and overlooked signs of abuse that painted a damning picture of the group home's environment. Every new piece of evidence was a stepping stone that fortified her argument in favor of the twins remaining in their current placement, away from the clutches of Vanessa Carter's unpredictable care. The legal documents began to reflect not just procedural language but a narrative of protection, a narrative that underscored the sanctity of a child's right to a safe, nurturing home. As the day of the final ruling drew near, The courtroom became a crucible of tension and anticipation. The atmosphere was thick with the weight of decisions that would irrevocably alter the lives of those involved. Vanessa Carter's insistence on claiming her familial right was met with the judge's unyielding commitment to the children's best interests. In the midst of heated exchanges and meticulous legal arguments, the judge's inner voice remained clear and resolute. The law must serve the vulnerable, not become a shield for those who would exploit it. Judge Thompson's presentation of the evidence was both precise and impassioned. With each documented incident of neglect and each verified instance of abuse, she laid bare the truth behind the smiling facade that Vanessa Carter had attempted to project. The courtroom listened intently as she recounted her findings. Details of uninvestigated complaints, the chronic understaffing of the group home, and the alarming pattern of oversight that had allowed the boys' suffering to continue unchecked. Her words, though measured, carried the force of a woman who had long borne the burden of loss and the scars of a system that had failed too many. In the midst of legal rebuttals and cross-examinations, the twins remained the quiet focal point of the entire proceeding. Their eyes, wide with a mix of hope and fear, silently communicated the desperation of their plea for a home that could provide more than just shelter. It could offer unconditional love and stability. Every time one of the boys' eyes met the judge's, it was as if they were silently urging her to take a stand, to be the guardian they so desperately needed. Throughout the proceedings, Judge Thompson's resolve was tested not only by the formidable legal arguments but also by the personal echoes of her own past. The memory of her child, a loss that had forced her to erect emotional barricades, lingered in every decision she made. But as she looked into the innocent eyes of the twins, she realized that this was an opportunity to honor that lost love by saving new lives from a cycle of neglect and abandonment. It was a moment to reconcile the cold demands of the law with the warmth of compassion. In that charged atmosphere, every testimony, every piece of evidence, and every tear shed in the courtroom converged into a singular message. The well-being of these children must come first. The judge's internal monologue was a quiet symphony of determination, echoing her belief that true justice was found not in rigid adherence to protocol, but in the courage to make decisions that prioritized human dignity over procedural convenience. With the final pieces of evidence laid out before her, she steeled herself for the moment when she would deliver her ruling, a moment that would signal not just a legal victory, but a triumph of empathy over indifference. The narrative of this case was far more than a legal dispute. It was a powerful reminder that every decision in the realm of child welfare carries profound consequences. The meticulous gathering of evidence, the painstaking review of each neglected detail, and the relentless pursuit of truth had all led to this critical juncture. In the charged silence of the courtroom, Judge Thompson prepared to make a decision that would not only alter the course of these young lives but would also reaffirm the principle that the law is a living force, one that must protect those who cannot protect themselves. Through every stage of the investigation, courtroom drama, and internal struggle, the story of these twin boys had become a beacon of hope, a call to all who believed in the transformative power of kindness and justice. Judge Thompson's journey from detachment to heartfelt determination resonated deeply, reminding every observer that even in the midst of systemic failure, one person's commitment to do what is right can change the course of history. The case was a testament to the idea that protecting the vulnerable requires not just legal expertise, but the courage to let compassion guide every decision. And so, as the evidence mounted and the testimonies painted a vivid picture of neglect and resilience, the stage was set for a ruling that would redefine what it meant to serve justice. In that moment, the true essence of acts of kindness stories was revealed. A story not only of legal battles but of a heart rekindled, a system challenged, and the undeniable power of empathy to create lasting change. In the aftermath of that pivotal courtroom moment, a gentle calm settled over the space where hearts had been laid bare and lives reshaped. Judge Alicia Thompson's unwavering determination had not only safeguarded two innocent souls but had also sent a resounding message to everyone watching. The true strength of our justice system lies in its capacity to protect and nurture the vulnerable. As the twins stepped out of the courthouse with newfound hope and the promise of a loving home, their eyes shone with the possibility of a brighter future. A future built on the foundation of compassion, persistence, and the courage to stand up against neglect. Back in her office, Judge Thompson reviewed the final paperwork. her hands steady and her resolve reinforced by every piece of evidence and every heartfelt testimony. In that moment, the transformation wasn't just legal, it was personal. The story of these resilient twins became a symbol of the unyielding power of kindness and the impact one caring soul can have on so many lives. It reminded us all that our actions, however small they may seem, can ignite hope and change destinies. Now, as we close this chapter, let the story of these brave children and the compassionate judge inspire you to look around and recognize the potential for kindness in every corner of our community. Every act of empathy, every decision made with care, contributes to building a safer, more nurturing world for everyone. We invite you to share this message. Spread the word, spark conversations, and let these moments of real-life courage and compassion remind us all that change begins with a single act of kindness. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Your voice matters, and together we can inspire others to stand up for those in need. And don't forget to subscribe to Acts of Kindness Stories New. Help us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers so that more stories of hope, justice, and transformation can be shared with the world. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Your support helps us continue to highlight the extraordinary in the everyday and champion the cause of compassion. Stay kind, stay inspired, and remember, every act of kindness makes our world a little brighter.